Don't you dare say I'm gonna make it, 'cause I don't believe a word you say.
Welcome back to TOOC Reviews. I'm Quan.
What's up? You got Rain here?
Rhaenyra. Now, for me personally, I loved young Rhaenyra. I saw all the potential in her, from the way she carried herself to how she didn't really want to do what everyone else was doing. She was a rebel, and I respected her for that. Perfect candidate to be queen. Now, I'd be lying to say I wasn't a little disappointed in her development as she turned grown, because it seemed like everything that she went against, she literally fell into. But now I understand that, and there you have to play the game a bit in order to win. So even when she got the crown, she's starting to see the difficulties of what it means to rule. Now she's gonna have to prepare to go to war.
Rhaenyra already has made some tough decisions, and honestly, throughout the show, to me, it was more like the lesser of the two evils. At first, I didn't. Let's say not at first. At first, I liked Rhaenyra when she was a kid. When she grew up, it was more like, I don't really like Alicent, don't really like Rhaenyra, but I'll like Rhaenyra more than Alicent. The last episode really was a turning point for Rhaenyra, for Rhaenyra. I like the way how, everybody was trying to do one thing, but she still used her mind. She's really cautious, being smart about plunging Westeros into war, or chilling out, solidifying her position, seeing what allies she had, see who was going to back her claim, get all her ducks in a row first. I like how she carried herself, and she showed me flashes of a great leader, honestly.
Viserys, first and foremost, R.I.P. I'll admit, I was one of those few people who misjudged him in the beginning, because from like the first few episodes, people said that he was only concerned with ruling, he was selfish, he was weak. But from looking at a different standpoint, nobody understood what it was like to be in his position. He literally had the whole realm on his back, whether it was trying to stop the crab feeder, finding a new heir, keeping everyone else around him happy. So that was like a lot to manage. And even when he finally showed up, when Alicent and Rhaenyra were beefing, and he finally took the Iron Throne, I was happy to see him. So to burden that responsibility as a king, and to do it without being cruel, without being unjust, is very commendable, especially for a Targaryen. It was a good representation.
Pretty much most of the episodes of the season were like really seeing the inner workings of monarchy. So we really got to see how, when we were not at war, there's still so much drama, still so much to balance, so much stress that Viserys had to, work with. He definitely didn't have his work cut out for him. That was really stressful for him to go ahead and trust his daughter, name her heir, and he stood on it. Also, pretty much the last episode, he was alive. How he came out there and he stood up for his daughter, stood up for his grandchildren, and it was really, really nice to see that. He's a great dude. He went through a lot. All props to him.
Next character, his brother Daemon. Now, I'll admit, he has had some badass cool moments. However, we can't just forget the things he's done that made us side-eye him in the first place. Insulting his late nephew, unacceptable. Marrying his own niece, disgusting. And even the aspect of how he's so hungry for power that he's only concerned with what he thinks and nobody else. Because even when Rhaenyra was discussing going to war with Alicent's family and them, like you said, he was cutting her off, put his hands on her. He didn't give a damn about any of the visions that Viserys had. The only thing he looked at is the throne, and the crown was basically like a shiny new toy that he just had to have. So it's interesting to see what he's gonna become. We already know the potential of what he could be, but you already know the potential of what someone could be versus who they really are two totally different things, especially in Game of Thrones.
We were shown that he had aspirations. He had ambitions for the throne. We're not sure if him being married to Rhaenyra and her being queen, if that'll be enough for him, but honestly, we do know that he aspired more. And also, like you were saying about him cutting off Rhaenyra at the War Council, it really showed how much he respects her. And it's not like it was just in private. It's not like it's just him talking. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they noticed how he's just cutting her off, basically just undermining what she has to say. And it really shows, it exposes how much he respects her. Honestly, I think that's a foreshadow for, okay, this guy is not really team Rhaenyra at heart. He's definitely gonna be a bad guy in the show. I definitely don't see him actually being true support for Rhaenyra, and I think it's gonna turn out bad.
We gotta talk about Rhaenys. Now, I'll admit, I didn't like her at first because from the way the show built her up, they painted her as this salty, bitter woman who is jealous of Rhaenyra because she can never be queen. Even the little conversations she had with her, I was just like, man, if you don't shut up, like, you just hating. But as time went on, it seemed to show that she was kind of right. But even when Viserys died and Rhaenys got locked in her room and she busted out with her dragon and she went to side with Rhaenyra, she recognized that Rhaenyra is the real deal. Rhaenys is going to be a very powerful ally to have in the future, and I hope she sticks around for many seasons.
Now, at the end, you could definitely tell how she was like, she was watching Rhaenyra. She was watching how she handled herself. She was watching. You could tell how she was judging her on her leadership ability, and you could tell how she stood back to watch her to see if she truly wanted to give her support to Rhaenyra. And I mean, just like I guess me and her share that in common. I was watching Rhaenyra too, and she impressed me how she handled herself in the War Council, how she handled, even though all of her advisors around her wanted her to take a certain route. She didn't use emotion. She didn't make decisions with emotion. She made very logical decisions. She wanted to be cautious. Not saying she didn't want to go to war, but taking the necessary actions first. I'm pretty sure a lot of people might be mad that she didn't go ahead and end that when she had her dragon war. Like she said, it wasn't her war to win. It wasn't her war to start, I should say.
Aegon sure is a piece of shit. He had them kids he was breeding to fight underground for other people's entertainment. And even when he was about to get crowned, he didn't even want it. I don't think he's gonna last very long because his fortitude is lacking to me. But Aemond, he gives me Daemon vibe. He wanted the throne, and the only reason why he's still around Aegon and supporting him is because of his mother. If it wasn't for that, I think he would probably try to take him out.
I definitely think Aemond will turn on Aegon. And first, I guess I'll explain what I feel about Aegon. Obviously, nothing good, horrible, lives this crazy party lifestyle, spoiled. And Aemond knows that too, and that's the same reason why he hates him. He even said it, he spoke like, I'm the one that actually works, I'm the one that actually trains, actually study history, like I'm the one that works hard. But he's going to become king because he was born first. I think that foreshadows what's to come as well. Eventually, he's not just going to go with this, he's not going to just roll out. Eventually, I think he's going to lash out.
Alicent and Otto. Otto, I never liked him from the jump. I always peeped there was something off about him. Whether it was the way he tried to always stay in the king's ear and manipulate, from the way he sent his daughter basically to bond with Viserys. And as much as people tried to give her some grace and say that she's only doing this because others telling her to, she didn't seem that distraught with having that power. Even with the aspect of her going against Rhaenyra's claim for the throne, you can tell that she has basically changed, because that's what happens when power gets to you.
Talk about Otto. Otto, another sneaky character, reminds me a lot of Tywin. He cares about improving his family name, the Hightower name, pushing the Hightower name. So he's really looking for pushing the Hightower family, gaining more prestige. That's all he is. Kind of like how Tywin was, pushing the Lannister name. You could tell it was really awkward for Alicent. You could tell from her facial expressions and how she was sitting in her body language and everything. Like you could tell it was really awkward for her, but she did it because she got listened to her father. But eventually, she became queen after time skip. We saw, like you said, how that power got to her, and she kind of accepted it, But now I think it's what she actually wants. She actually wants her kids on the throne. Of course, she didn't want it the same way that they wanted it. Of course, she wanted Aegon to be king. She even said it, you know. But she didn't want to kill Rhaenyra. She didn't want to. She wanted them in jail. She wanted, like, you can tell she still cares about Rhaenyra a little bit. She still cares about that family. Still cares about the Targaryens. I do believe she did care about Viserys as well. But she did want what she wanted, but she just didn't want to get it that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes out. She might get worse. She might lose that little bit of care that she has to the Targaryens, and let's say specifically Rhaenyra. She might just lose that altogether, or we might see that fester a little bit more. You know, she might actually come a little bit more conflicted with those feelings.
I gotta say, my favorite character coming back around was Rhaenyra. Now, she did some things that I definitely don't agree with, but she stayed consistent at least. Daemon had some cool moments, but he did too many things that were questionable to make me actually rank him up there. So I gotta go with Rhaenyra. What about you, Ryan?
Favorite characters Rhaenyra. That last episode solidified it for me. Really like the way she was leading. She was making the right decisions. She was being very logical. She showed that she was going to be a great leader. She doesn't have too much competition right now for me because there's just a lot of characters to dislike. I think our only competition in terms of my favorite characters would be Rhaenys. Rhaenys isn't. I say she's number 2. Rhaenyra's number 1. Oh, favorite moment. I forgot. My favorite moment was when Rhaenys pulled up on the dragon and got my man's at the crowning, at Aegon's crowning. She got that dog in her, you know. She got that dog in her. I like that. Definitely my favorite movie. I mean, my favorite moment from the show so far.
The one I think that stuck by me the most for sure is when Daemon had fought the crab feeder. Like, despite all the BS that he's done and all the weird traits that he's shown, that show of bravery was nothing short of magical, and it showed that what he could actually be if he actually got his head on straight. But you can't control a loose cannon. So from what I've seen in season 2, they're supposed to be going to Winterfell and they're going to introduce him to the Starks. With this aspect of the Song of Ice and Fire and Winter coming, we still know about the White Walkers. So my prediction is they're going to get closer to the White Walkers coming, and they're going to have to decide whether to still go after and fight each other or temporarily band together. And it's going to be a bunch of conflict because somebody like Daemon is going to be like, I don't care about that. We need to focus on retrieving the Iron Throne, versus someone like Rhaenyra being concerned for the greater good.
I don't really see it in season 2, but I do think there will come a time where Rhaenyra has a chance to, you know, probably be winning the war and have a chance to finish it, or to do the right thing, do it the Viserys way. I do think we'll see a lot of my questions answered, our questions answered. So Alicent, she's gonna pretty much turn more to the dark side, I should say, and kind of get rid of that feeling that she had for Rhaenyra, like the feeling that she still has for Rhaenyra. Like, she doesn't want to actually have her dead. She wants her son on the throne. She doesn't want to have her dead. Is that going to go out the window? Is she not going to care anymore? Is she going to become more of a cutthroat? Or is she going to conflict and trend in the other direction and start to be like, no, this isn't exactly what I want to do anymore? I mean, the only thing we know is we know where Daemon's head is at. I feel like that's the only character we know for sure that we can kind of predict which way he's going, and we know he's going to war. That's all we know he's going to do. That's all he cares about. So,
getting into actually rating this season, for the first 4 episodes, they started out hot. As soon as they got towards the middle, it started to kind of die down, especially with all the time skips that happened. But towards the end, episode 8, 9, and 10, it finally brought me back. I had some phenomenal moments, some phenomenal dialogue that I can definitely pull from. So with all that, I'll give this season a 7.5.
About a 7. Wasn't perfect, wasn't bad. Of course, we had high expectations going in because we've seen Game of Thrones, and we have to keep mentioning Game of Thrones because, you know, it's got big shoes to fill, you know, and I know we have a lot more in store for us. We haven't even like scratched the surface of what we're going to see in this show. So,
and to wrap up, definitely I want to thank you, my brother Rain, for joining me on this review. You already know. But let us know what y'all think. Comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, stay strong and don't take what we say out of context. Peace and love.